Somewhere above you right now, something is forming that has never existed before, and never will again. It will fall, it will land, and within hours it will be gone forever. This happens billions of times, every single winter, and almost nobody stops to think about it. Think back to a winter morning as a kid, waking up to find the whole world gone white overnight, bundling up in whatever coat still fit, stepping outside into air that stung your face, and losing an entire afternoon to it. Building a snowman with your parents, packing the base with cold hands until they went numb, arguing over where the carrot nose should go, or lying flat on your back in the snowbank making the shape of wings with your arms, staring up at a grey sky that never seemed to stop giving. Somewhere in a memory like that, in every single snowball you ever packed, in every drift you ever collapsed into, there were more individually unique, never to be repeated objects than you could ever hope to count. And not one of you was thinking about that at the time. You were just cold and happy and completely unaware that you were standing inside one of the most quietly extraordinary things nature does, over and over, every winter, for no audience at all. A snowflake begins as almost nothing, a single speck of dust or pollen, invisible to the eye, floating inside a cloud. Water vapor starts condensing around that speck, freezing directly from gas into ice, skipping the liquid stage entirely. At this point, it isn't a snowflake at all. It's just a tiny hexagonal crystal, six-sided because of the basic molecular geometry of frozen water. The same six-sided rule every single ice crystal on Earth is built from. If the story stopped here, every snowflake really would look the same. The uniqueness doesn't come from the starting point, it comes from what happens next. As a tiny crystal begins its fall, it enters into a relationship with the air around it, one that changes constantly, moment to moment, in ways that are effectively impossible to repeat. Temperature and humidity shift by fractions of a degree as the crystal drifts downward, and each shift changes exactly how new water molecules attach to its surface. Warmer, more humid pockets of air cause elaborate branching arms to form. Colder, drier pockets favor simpler, flatter facaded shapes. The crystal might pass through a dozen of these micro-environments on its way down, each one leaving its mark on the ice before the next one takes over. And because the crystal is tumbling and drifting through a genuine chaotic air currents, turbulence, tiny eddies, invisible pockets of warmer or cooler air, no two crystals ever take the same path through the sky, not one. In over a century of serious study, nobody has ever documented an exception. There is a reason all six arms of a single snowflake usually still look like each other, even why no two separate snowflakes ever match. Every arm on the same crystal is experiencing the exact same conditions at the exact same moments, falling through the exact same air at the exact same time. They are identical twins, growing up in the same house, but two different snowflakes are more like two strangers born on opposite sides of the planet, shaped by environments that never once overlapped. Even at the molecular level, the odds compound further. Water molecules aren't perfectly uniform to begin with. A small fraction contain a heavier isotope of oxygen, or a hydrogen atom replaced with deuterium, scattered essentially at random throughout every crystal, at that molecular variation on top of the atmospheric chaos, and the mathematical odds of the large, complex snowflakes ever matching drop to something scientists describe plainly as functionally zero. Not unlikely, not rare, as close to impossible as nature actually gets. The person who spent his entire life trying to prove or disprove this wasn't a physicist working in a university lab. He was a farmer. In 1885, in the small town of Jericho, Vermont, a 19-year-old named Wilson Bentley successfully photographed a single snowflake through a microscope, the first time anyone had ever managed it. He would later call it the greatest day of his life. His father thought the whole obsession was nonsense, a waste of time better spent on farm work. His neighbors mostly agreed. Bentley kept going anyway. Every winter for the next 46 years, He would go out into the cold, catch falling snowflakes on a piece of black painted wood and carry them one at a time, using nothing but a broom straw or a feather to avoid melting them with his own body heat, into an unheated room where his camera and microscope waited. He worked in the cold on purpose, because warmth was the enemy of everything he was trying to capture. Some nights he worked straight through until morning, chasing a single good storm. By the end of his life, Wilson Bentley had photographed and catalogued over 5,000 individual snowflakes. Not one of them ever matched another. In 1931, at the age of 66, his life work was finally published as a book. 2,000 of his best images collected in one place, the recognition he would waited nearly 50 years for. A few weeks later, coming home on a train, he saw it start to snow. He got off and began the 6-mile walk home through what turned into a full blizzard. Desperate to get back to his camera before the storm passed, he caught pneumonia on that walk. He died 3 weeks later, on December 23, 1931. In the same farmhouse where he'd been born, having spent nearly his entire life chasing something that existed on average for less than an hour before disappearing completely. It's worth sitting with that for a moment, because it's easy to hear he photographed snowflakes and missed what they actually meant. Day to day for 50 years, every single flake he ever captured was already, in some sense, dying the moment it landed. He wasn't preserving anything permanent. He was documenting things that were built to vanish one after another, forever, and doing it anyway, winter after winter, because the vanishing was exactly what made each one worth capturing in the first place. This is really what makes the science, once you actually understand it, feel like something closer to poetry than physics. Every snowflake that has ever existed across the entire recorded history of snow falling on this planet has been genuinely probably one of one. Not rare, not special in the watered down way that word gets used now. Actually, mathematically, unrepeatable, built from a path through the sky that will never be flown again, by condition that will never exist in this exact combination again, made of molecules that carry their own tiny individual signatures. It forms in complete silence, high in a cloud nobody's watching. It falls unnoticed, among countless others just like it, in shape but not in substance. And then within hours, sometimes within minutes, it's gone, melted, evaporated, or simply crushed under the weight of everything falling after it. And it never happens again in exactly that way. Not once, not across the entire span of the planet's existence. Bentley spent his whole life proving that uniqueness isn't the exception in nature, it's closer to the rule, hiding in plain sight inside something so common that people mostly just complain about shoveling it. Billions of unrepeatable objects fall from the sky every winter, individually, built by a process too chaotic to ever copy itself, and almost none of them are seen by anyone at all before they are gone. He looked anyway for 50 years. In an unheated room, in the middle of the night, he kept looking, because once you actually understand what you are looking at, it becomes very hard to stop.